His sixth-floor office is in a building near the corner of 71st and Yale, and with a police scanner on in the background,
westbound on I-244.
Tulsa City Councilor Phil Lakin is constantly surrounded by interesting sights and sounds, shameless Channel 8 plug included.
So I just heard screeching tires, and then I immediately heard a siren.
That siren belonged to one of the scores of police cars that responded to a home invasion and a crash scene near 84th and Sheridan. And given that Lakin is not only a counselor but also chairman of the board of EMSA, he called EMSA and asked,
would it be okay if I just tagged along with the supervisor to see how everybody's working?
Once on scene, he saw the devastation of the high-speed crash and was minding his own business when
the ambulance door opens and the guy inside the ambulance yells at me, yells, Phil.
Turns out he knew the couple that got slammed into by the alleged thieves.
It's a guy named Bob. I won't mention his last name just to protect him and his wife. And he and his wife were both in the car. They had been at Siggy's getting some food, and they were headed back home.
Bob asked Phil to go through the car and see if he could find his wife's hearing aid, which fell out during impact.
And so I found her hearing aid in the back seat of the car. So it got knocked from, I guess, this ear all the way to the passenger side.
Phil then took it to the hospital and checked in on Bob and his wife. Back at the office, as we were wrapping up this interview, an email arrived.
That was my aunt that got robbed at gunpoint today. She lives 20 seconds from me. I was able to get over there and clear the house, but dang it, it was a scary situation.
6 degrees of separation is probably more like 2 or 3 in a place like T-Town. Community connections that help bring calm in the aftermath of chaos.
I was able to help them in a very small way as well, and tie up their tabbouleh so it didn't stink up their car.
Burt Mummolo, Tulsa's Channel 8. Since 1965, Covercraft has been protecting automobiles. These days, they're protecting lives.
Normally on an average Monday like this, we're making multiple car covers and seat covers.
And this is what normal looks like. But the new normal is thousands of gowns hanging from the conveyor belt and thousands of masks being sewn one by one.
At current capacity, we can make 4,000 gowns and 4,000 masks per day with this workforce here.
We're doing everything we can to produce as many as we can.
Jorge Medina says the tremendous urgency of the work comes with a tremendous pride as well.
I feel a lot of pride and feel really good about us being able to do that. It's pretty awesome.
We feel very proud. I feel so proud when I see this team trying so hard.
Imelda oversees sewing and says her employee Rosa has a very personal reason behind her work.
That she asked me, she say, I want to be part of it because my sister-in-law is a nurse and she's desperately in need of this.
Everything you see here is already sold with demand through the roof. From hospitals, states, you name it.
It's sold before we made it, yeah. Really the first order we had, the first production run was sold before we got it done.
I believe we have 75,000 in order.
From non-essential to vital. Switching gears in the middle of a pandemic.
We're really glad to do our part, small part, but it means everything right now to the people that really need this.
In Pauls Valley, Burt Mummolo, Tulsa's Channel 8. At the Blessed Baker, Debbie Reed pulled in her outdoor chairs just to be safe.
I had heard that they might come and protest at around 4 o'clock today.
Butcher Rick Hall made his presence felt by sitting outside his shop.
Because they're supposed to protest and they ain't going to tear my building up.
And at Lynn's Antiques, the owner made a call for backup.
First thing I did was text my husband to make sure he's here, so he's here.
Collinsville police officers were literally walking the beat to place residents at ease.
So we came out here on Main Street just to kind of reassure the businesses that we were here in case anything did happen.
With nightly images of rioting and vandalism on the news, quite naturally, people are on edge.
I think some people were fearful, so fearful that they were armed and prepared.
That fear has translated into more sales at Medlock Firearms.
Yes, there has been a significant increase.
So take all of that and you've got the temperature of the situation, when lo and behold, walking down Main Street, the protesters were spotted.
3 young girls, yeah.
3 young girls. And only 3 young girls.
Thought there was going to be a little bit more people, but no.
Selah, Grace, and her friend heard the same rumors about a protest, but turned out to be the only protesters who turned out, standing on the corner of 10th and Main for an hour.
It's really a peaceful way that we're out here, and there might be some people that don't like it, but that's just the way it is with issues like this.
3 teenage girls whose accidentally tiny protest ended up grabbing some big attention.
The hope is that it will lead to change, yeah.
Normally, the sounds you're hearing of the Tulsa Opera would be emanating from this place, their home at the Tulsa Performing Arts Center. But since we are not living in normal times, those sounds are coming from here.
What's happening is history is being made.
And in more ways than one. It's the first time Rigoletto has been adapted with a baseball theme.
We have a star pitcher, that's the Duke. Rigoletto, who's his court jester in the original, in our version is the team mascot.
And the role of the hired killer?
The umpire gets to make life and death decisions in this world, and in the opera world, the hired killer gets to do it.
The production is also making history by being the first time an opera has been performed live before a live audience since COVID shut down the arts.
Not happening in New York, not happening in LA, not happening anywhere else, just Tulsa.
So I'm really excited that we get to be one of the first companies to put on an opera in this time of quarantine.
For the performers, the event is an opportunity to momentarily get back to normality, professionally. Because for the past 6 months,
a lot of unemployment, actually a lot of canceled shows, a lot of kind of reinventing the wheel.
The performance is also a first for the ballpark.
This is another first. Yeah, One Oak Field in 2020, a lot of firsts.
A win-win for 2 worlds that would normally never collide.
They needed an outdoor environment. We need people to come out here.
Take me out to the ballpark with peanuts, Cracker Jack, and operatic magnificence.
I wouldn't want to miss it.
It's an ongoing controversy as large as the mural itself. What stance should the city take when it comes to statements on streets?
I tend to take the stance that no words of any kind should go on our public streets.
To me, this discussion for 3 to 4 weeks shows just how out of touch some of our city leaders are.
Case in point, says Pastor Robert Turner, for all the talk about Greenwood, let's talk about MLK for a minute.
If they do vote to remove this, which I hope they don't, I hope they will also vote to continue the name of Martin Luther King from just the north side of town throughout the whole downtown, since we're so concerned with streets now.
That story, for some reason, is not grabbing headlines. The fact that MLK magically turns into Cincinnati once it goes under the highway.
Let's take this conversation to MLK and answer why does MLK stop at the bridge on the black side of town and doesn't go through downtown, since we're so concerned. But if they don't do that, it shows they're being a hypocrite.
Back in Greenwood,
it's just a reminder, my daughter's lives matter, my life matters.
Support for the mural was much easier to come by than any optimism that the city would just leave it be.
In Tulsa, though, I think that we talk about a lot of being progressive, a lot of cohesiveness, a lot of inclusiveness, but it never happens. It never happens without some sort of pushback.